Alan Brown, please.
Thanks, Chair. On the 27th of June, Asda's Chief Commercial Officer, Chris Comerford, told the committee that Asda's fuel pricing strategy policy has not changed over many years. Is that an accurate statement?
So in exactly the same way, over the course of the market study, Asda told us repeatedly that they'd not changed their fuel pricing strategy. And they said that was because they had consistently, throughout that period, maintained the strategy of trying to be the lowest cost provider in any particular area. And on that particular point, we didn't find any evidence that that had changed. But what we did find were two very significant changes to Asda's pricing approach. The first of those was around their internal margin targets. So we found that between 2021 and 2023, they significantly increased their internal fuel margin targets on a pence per litre basis. And indeed, by 2023, those pence per litre targets were 3 times what they'd been in 2019. The second of these areas was a decision that Asda took during 2022 to deliberately feather prices on fuel as they came down from the peak. So Asda told us that they saw an opportunity as the wholesale price fell to pass through reductions in the retail price more slowly than they previously would have done. And they said that they applied that in over 100 petrol stations where they faced no direct competition from another supermarket within the local area. They also said that there was a greater opportunity to do that on diesel in 2023 because of the volatility in the market.
You'd contend a threefold increase in return per litre of petrol or fuel, and the feathering would constitute a significant change in policy?
We certainly saw that as a significant change in their pricing approach.
Okay. Your report also noted that Mr Mohsin and Zubair Issa with TDR Capital, a private equity company, they took over Asda in August 2021. That, I believe, was when they started seeing changes in the pricing strategy. Would that be right? Following ownership changes, there seemed to be a change in direction.
So that's right. The significant changes that we saw in their internal margin targets came between 21 and 22, and then again in 22 and 23. So that decision to start increasing them significantly was taken at some point in 2021 by Asda.
Okay. Would it be fair to suggest that Asda used the high volatility in fuel prices associated with the Ukraine war as a way to hide the transparency of them increasing their margins?
So based on the evidence that we've seen and what Asda told us, my answer will be yes. And that's to do with the feathering of prices. So if your intention is to reduce pump prices more slowly as wholesale prices fall, you can obviously only do that while wholesale prices are falling. Now, because we saw this very high peak in wholesale prices in 2022, and then this long gradual fall in wholesale prices, in particular in diesel, that provided an extended opportunity to engage in feathering prices in diesel.
So using the Ukraine war as an excuse to gouge more money out of their own customers?
That wasn't how we would have put it in our findings, but certainly we found that or Asda told us that volatility in the wholesale price provided an opportunity to feather prices in diesel.
Not gouging, but an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alan Brown, please.
Thanks, Chair. Your answers about no change of fuel strategy are completely at odds from the evidence we've heard of the Competitions and Market Authority. So they say, by remarkable coincidence, after you took over, by remarkable coincidence, Asda decided to double its targeted profit margin in fuel in 2022 and then decided to increase it further in 2023. And what CMA found was that the profit targeted margin per litre of fuel is 3 times higher now than it was in 2019. So are their findings correct, yes or no?
What I will say is during that period, our strategy did not change in terms of fuel pricing. Margin is an output of strategy. we sort of more than invested that margin into food, where we sort of...
Right. But I said yes or no, so is our findings correct? Asda deliberately decided to target higher margins per sale of fuel?
We don't see this as a fuel business on its own. It's not. We see this as a holistic. We see this as a holistic.
Was it a conscious decision to increase margins on fuel and trebling of the margin in 2023 compared to 2019?
Our margins went down from 2.7% to 1.7%. We took a profit cut of 24%, so we did not.
Did you target an increased margin per litre sale of fuel?
We don't see this as a holistic fuel business. We see this as a holistic business.
I know Isa's argument, it's one big business, but the whole point is, did you target increased margins on fuel? You can argue you're using it to subsidise some other part of the business. Did you target increased margins on fuel?
Our strategy did not change. I control the pricing in Asda, and that's what we did. Our strategy was the price leader.
I'll go again, so it's a yes or no answer. Did Asda deliberately target increased margins on fuel sales per litre?
We don't see this as a fuel business, so you can't.
I know, but it's yes or no. Did Asda plan to increase margins on fuel at point of sale?
We set our strategy, and then it's for the market to price where they price.
Mr. Issa, you are required to answer the question. If Mr. Brown asked you whether you increased the profit margin on burgers, you would be able to answer the question, I'm sure. He is asking you, did you intentionally increase the margin on petrol? Yes or no?
We set our strategy. The margin is an output of our strategy.
Well, I understand that, but
yes or no. Did you plan to increase the margin on sale of petrol?
I mean, as I said, we don't see it as a holistic. We see it as a holistic business.
But we only want the one-word answer, yes or no.
It's not a one-word answer question, is it? Because it's not. If it was a fuel business, I could answer that yes or no.
Mr. Issa, you just said to the committee, I quote, "I control the prices."
Yes.
So you just said you control the prices. Mr. Brown is asking you what your decision was in control of the prices of petrol. Did you put the margin up? It's a simple question.
I set the strategy. The strategy was.
You just told us you set the prices. Did you increase the price?
We put the price on.
Margin. The price that you charge. Did you increase the margin?
We set the strategy to be the price leader.
I'm not asking you about the strategy. I'm asking you about the margin. Did you increase the margin?
The margin is the output of the strategy, sir.
I don't care whether it's an input or an output. I'm asking you on the question. Did you increase the margin?
I do not control the margin. I control the strategy as the input.
Who controls the margin?
The market.
How?
We set our price.
You set the price. And what we're asking you is whether you intentionally set the price so that you would increase your margin.
We set the price, and then others have an opportunity to undercut us.
Alan, sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, I still didn't get that yes or no, so...
I fear we may need to give up,
yeah.
Unfortunately.
Okay, so, again, the evidence, so 27th of June, the committee asked Mr Comerford if the CMA's findings from May that at least one supermarket had significantly increased its internal forward-looking margin, if that applied to Asda. Now, at the time, would Mr Comerford have been aware of the plans internally within Asda to increase the margins on fuel?
The strategy remains unchanged.
Would they have been aware of the strategy in terms of increased margins?
The strategy was to be the price leader and remains the strategy, and that's unchanged.
Earlier on, I questioned the CMA, because the CMA found that Asda were feathering prices and using the volatility of fuel price associated with the Ukraine war as a way to slow down price reductions when wholesale fuel prices were dropping. I put it to the CMA that Asda were gouging their customers in doing so. The CMA said it wasn't gouging, but Asda saw it as an opportunity. So did Asda see it as an opportunity to create increased margins on the back of the volatility associated with the Ukraine war?
Absolutely not.
No. So is the CMA wrong, as they weren't feathering and slowing down pricing?
We buy fuel on a 3-week lag, with variable inputs along the way, and where we can, we pass on the decreases to customers.
CMA said this particularly applied to diesel. Now, is it a remarkable coincidence that at my local Asda, following the CMA report, the diesel suddenly dropped in price below unleaded petrol, which is the first time that's happened in a very long time? So that's just coincidental when the CMA publishing its report?
We pass on decreases as quickly as we can to customers.
Did diesel prices fall quicker after the CMA published the report saying that Asda have been feathering and taking opportunities where there was less competition?
Absolutely in line with strategy.
So it was just coincidence diesel started falling again in Asda?
Can I just check, Mr. Issa, when you say strategy, could you help me understand, what is it that you mean by strategy?
Our strategy is to be the price leader on fuel.
So that means to be cheaper than everyone else. That's the strategy. And so you then presumably make a decision about how much cheaper you want to be compared to everybody else as part of that strategy.
We set our pricing on the strategy that we have in terms of the information the market is at. We put the price at whatever the price is. Now, the competition have the ability to react to that, in which case we would react to that again.
Okay, because I understand that when Walmart owned Asda, they had the same strategy. They wanted to be a price leader, cheaper than every other supermarket. And they set the strategy at being 1 pence per litre cheaper than their competitors. That's how they delivered the strategy. My understanding from a whistleblower is that since you've bought Asda, Mr. Issa, you've changed that from 1 pence cheaper per litre compared to competitors to 0.1 pence per litre compared to competitors. Is that right?
Strategy remains unchanged.
Answer my question. When Walmart owned Asda, it set the price at 1 pence cheaper per litre compared to competitors. When you bought Asda, Mr. Issa, did you change that?
No, the strategy remains
Did you
unchanged.
change that number from 1 pence per litre cheaper than supermarkets to a lower price?
Strategy remains unchanged.
I'm going to ask you one last time and remind you that you're required to answer my question honestly in this setting. Did you change it from under Walmart from 1 pence cheaper per litre compared to competitors to 0.1 pence per litre cheaper than competitors?
No, I did not.
No, you did not. Okay. Thank you very much.